Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Midnight Frightcast, episode number 41. This is your host with the most. It is Greg, the freaking movie guy, doctor of filmonomics, right here, ready to indoctrinate you into some fantastic podcastination. I told you, I'm already getting drunk. This is fantastic. On my right, we have Maddie.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. To my front.
Hey, Maddie, your microphone's not up. Let's try that again.
Do we have to do that entire thing again?
No, I don't think so.
All right, we'll do a small step back. On my right. Wait, are we good?
No, we're good.
Okay, on my right, we have Maddie. Try it one more time.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me now?
No, we cannot.
Can't. So what the heck's going on? Oh, why don't you plug in your microphone?
Do we want to restart this entire thing?
No, just introduce Patrick and myself. While
I told you I was going to ignore Patrick.
Oh, that's fine. So my turn.
To my front, we have Joshua.
What do you have the most of, Greg? That's the question I want to know.
The most of what?
There we go.
I don't know. I have the most.
You're the host with the most of.
I don't know. That's a good question. I've always wondered that.
Well,
on my left is Patrick.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
You're going to rip on me at some point this evening, and so I'm paying you back early.
You know, I won't rip on you because already, obviously, I had her microphone turned down, and then when I turned it up, it wasn't even plugged in.
Oh, that's right. Let's remember that.
So this is how I host. I host a party.
Hey, Patrick, remember that time you didn't have the microphone plugged in on a podcast?
Greg, don't, because you're already tanking yourself.
That's what I'm saying, because
you know what? Fuck it. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 41. The fun is already beginning, and we are getting hammered.
Hey, why don't you introduce Maddie now?
We can. Is she good? Can we hear her?
I think I'm good. Can everyone
Oh, my God, there's Maddie.
Yeah.
Hey, Maddie, introduce yourself.
I'm Maddie.
Hi, Maddie. Welcome. Thanks for being plugged in.
Yeah, I tried.
All right. The fun is already beginning. Maddie brought her homemade sangria, and it is fucking delicious. We're going to be hammered by the end of this. This could be a lot of fun.
I'm getting hammered off my monster. It's hammering.
That sounds like a very interesting euphemism.
It's a drink.
What?
It's a drink, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, no. My monster is hammering me. Hard.
Aren't you supposed to hammer your monster?
Yeah.
Let's continue. We watched a trailer for our episode tonight. That trailer was from Bad Robot Productions, Overlord. What do we think about Overlord?
First of all, with the trailer, kick-ass soundtrack.
Yeah.
Overlord.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything with AC/DC, Hell's Bells, that
Yeah.
rocks, man. That was awesome.
Absolutely. I'm excited to check it out. War movies are interesting to me. I don't know why they are, but I enjoy watching them. I'm probably a very sick individual for being that way, but throwing a horror into a war movie, a horror movie? Horror war? Anybody? No? Okay, move on. What else?
Horror war.
A horror.
Are we going to have to turn over the hosting duties at some point?
No, I came down specially for this because I knew I was hosting. Do not take that away from me.
You may have to camp out on my couch instead of heading back.
I like J.J. Abrams. Like you said, that soundtrack, that song kind of drove that trailer a lot. Without that song, I don't think that trailer would have worked as well. I'm not really just watching it, I'm not really that interested. It's not my kind of thing. I hope I get proved wrong, but I wasn't really digging on that trailer tonight. So I like J.J. Abrams and everything he does, but that just was not my cup of tea. So yeah.
Not your can of Monster?
No.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Maddie, what'd you think?
I mean, I like war movies as well, and I obviously don't mind war and horror movies mixed. I mean, I brought that awful Frankenstein's army in.
I was hoping you'd say horror.
No, that's you know what, I'm taking this.
Oh, no, I've been cut off. Damn it.
I don't know. It looked more kind of like they were going to put more comedy and action in it than I personally like. And then, I don't know, the title Overlord to me just kind of bugs me. It sounds like a cheesy video game movie.
No, I could see that.
They showed a lot more war and action in that trailer also than like horror, I thought. Which might have been part of the turnoff for me. I'm not really that's just like I said, that's not really my cup of tea. I'm not really a horror war kind of guy.
Thank you, Josh.
But Greg's looking at me like, just say it, please. Don't let me be alone. But there's a lot of, it was very action driven. They took a lot of didn't show a lot of the horror of the horror of the trailer.
Do you feel like they're holding back on the horror aspect of it to give you a reason to go and see that movie?
I don't know. It just seems maybe it seems very. I feel like it's going to kind of drift to the sci-fi side, which doesn't J.J. Abrams kind of do that anyway?
It all depends with his work. So.
I mean, I didn't feel like Cloverfield was very horror either. It was it was more sci-fi, but
yeah I could see that.
Now, I gotta say I dug it. I really like fast-paced horror films, and you don't see that much except for like rage zombie movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I dig World War II, all that other fun stuff. So I think this is right up my alley for something that I would really enjoy.
For what they showed, though, they showed stuff that looked kind of like that rage zombie look, though. And that I can get into, but I wanted more of that.
Okay.
And there may be more of that. They just didn't have.
I feel like there's going to be more of that. Just with the trailer, they want to give you enough to be interested, but not enough to give things away.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to check it out. I think it'll be a good showing. So
I think it'd be interesting to see more trailers. I know they normally release multiple and see if there is more of a horror aspect. Because I kind of feel like if you want the horror fans, you need to show a lot more of that in the trailer for them to be interested and go see it.
True. Yeah. And they give them just enough to be kind of like, oh, my interest is piqued. But I think the best shot of that on the horror side of it was that last shot where the guy is missing like half of his face.
Yeah.
So cool. All right. Let's continue on with the episode 141 podcast. I said episode 1. I don't know why I said that. Somebody cut me off.
It wasn't. It's not 141. It's 41.
41.
Episode 41.
Episode 1. Not. I don't know. What has everybody been watching? Let's go into that.
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So we've been doing 31 days of the horror challenge. I am behind as usual. I usually am. This early in the game, I fall behind quick. I do. I'll catch up.
But technically, you're only like 2 days behind.
I'm only 2 days behind, and I'll catch one tonight. So, and then I'll catch up. I always do. I always catch up and mustard. So,
I relish your wit.
Yes. But so I'm 5 in. There's only 3 I've watched that I'm like, I really, really dug. But the one that I've watched that I was like, I'm really into this movie and I didn't think I would be, was a movie called Stephanie. It's on Netflix. It's fairly new. It's a movie that you watch the first half and is led by this little girl. She's like the first half of the movie and she's by herself in a house and that's all you get. And they kind of pitch it as like it's going to be like a creature feature, like she's running from this monster that you never really see. And then like in the back half, her parents out of nowhere just show up and a whole bunch of secrets kind of come out and some like I said, the shit hits the fan and some cool shit starts happening and some surprises are dropped. And it's got a nice little twist. So Stephanie on Netflix is something that I definitely recommend.
Excellent.
Done.
Nice.
And I don't think you're too far behind. I think
I'm too behind.
That's not bad.
I'll catch it.
It's early on.
Right. Yeah. So you got plenty of time to catch up. You can't base your bar on mine.
I'm going to watch 19 shorts tonight and just be like, fuck it. I'm
Here
done.
you go.
Or you're gonna Maddie it in.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
I'll kiss my ass.
Maddie, what have you been watching?
As Patrick says, I have been watching mostly short films. I kind of have ranted a couple times on here about how sick I am of movies just dragging on and on and on. So I kind of wanted to put a lot of short films in my rotation to see if maybe they're doing better and maybe if I would like them more. I also have like a 17-second attention span. So there you go. I'm behind as well, but I haven't really seen anything that's really jumped out at me. I watched a short called The Maiden that was really good and it was fun. It's kind of most of the story is about a realtor who's kind of getting the house ready to sell and there's some stuff going on, but I think the movie is like 7 or 8 minutes long and they actually pack quite a bit into that 7 or 8 minutes, so I enjoyed that. But other than that, I haven't really seen anything that really jumped out at me yet. But I did go to a haunted house last night, so real life horror, I guess.
Nice.
Where'd you go?
I went to Blood Rush.
Where's that?
It is on 222nd and Maple.
Okay.
It's
Up in Omaha.
Way up there. Okay.
Omaha.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's way out. Sorry, it's way out in Omaha.
Okay.
It's up by us.
They actually have this really cool thing called Camp Fear, where you can camp out and watch horror movies and stuff. So that sounds really cool. And they do have people that go and like
mess with you.
Yeah, mess with you during the
cool.
movie and during the night. So I would love to check that out.
Cool.
But
Nice.
Yeah.
That would be a lot of fun. Patrick, what do you got?
Well, I too have been focused on my 31 Days of Horror movie challenge. So far, I am caught up. I'm at 7. And the ones I've watched are The Cured, Lake Mungo, Keep Watching, The Strangers Pray at Night, Kill List, Unsane, and Boarding School. And I would say that the most original in that entire group was Unsane. It's a Soderbergh movie. So he kind of keeps you guessing throughout the entire thing anyway. But I thought one of the most interesting things about this movie was it was entirely shot on an iPhone. So if you have a chance to see it, just to check out the cinematography and what he was able to do with it. Now, I don't know how he did sound, if sound was the iPhone was the only thing picking up sound, or if he was using other equipment. I don't know. But it was really, really impressive. I don't know so much if it was a horror film as much of a psychological thriller, but we talk about that later in our topic.
Yeah.
So, but it is a really, really good movie. And while we're talking about the 31 Days of Horror, I just want to say, if you're listening and you want to join in,
Yes.
jump into our Facebook group, Midnight Fright Films, and see what we've already reviewed and start posting maybe what you've been watching this October Halloween Eve.
Absolutely.
We've had a couple people join in now.
Yep.
So
Yeah, don't feel intimidated.
Yeah.
We've done this for several years, so we kind of know how things go, but just watch what you're able to watch. It's just it's a good time to get together with friends, talk about horror movies that you're watching, and it's a fun time. We always have fun with it until October 31st when I'm ready to kill somebody.
yes.
So tired of watching fucking movies.
And it's also a great way to learn about movies that you haven't heard of or anything like that. Because,
Absolutely.
Because I'm hoping that from this list, maybe we can have our next, 12 podcasts
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there you
figured
go.
out, that type of thing.
Well, we won't have the next 12 figured out from my list because my goal for our October 31 horror movie marathon challenge was to go back and watch classic horror movies that I have never seen. So I started off with Universal monster movies, Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, and The Wolfman. I also interspersed in there Bram Stoker's Dracula from the early 90s and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein from the early 90s.
Are you going to watch the new Wolfman movie then too?
I've seen the new Wolfman movie. I went and saw it in theaters. I hate myself for going and seeing it because it was awful.
Oh, really? You don't like it?
Compared to the original,
But Benicio del Toro
he was probably the one
good.
good thing about that, and which sucks because Anthony Hopkins is in there too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's a decent actor, but I was not feeling that one.
No, I found it interesting because you had a similar response to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, where De Niro kind of took you out of the whole
Oh my God. Absolutely. No.
Oh, wow.
when they're pulling in A-list actors to do these types of remakes,
There were so many better casting choices that they could have made for the Frankenstein's monster. What they did with De Niro was they humanized him. Take that for whatever you want, but it becomes too, I don't even know the words to describe it, but De Niro took me out of it completely. He was not a Frankenstein's monster. So that was kind of a bum deal, but otherwise I'd have to go back and read my list. I'm 11 in. I had a day off last Thursday and I cranked out some movies.
I turned my notifications off.
I imagine. Hey, I gave you warning.
Yeah, I posted. I was like, slow the fuck down, man. It's early.
See, you got to hit them early while you're still good for it, and then you could just kind of coast into the end.
I was still
That's
trying to get
strategy.
my wife to watch number 1.
Oh, her number 1.
Yeah, she hasn't watched the first one yet. So.
Technically, Emily shouldn't have had her number 1, but she came in and watched that one with me, which was surprisingly decent. So watched those 6. Watched Child's Play for the first time, which was interesting.
Oh.
I'd never, ever come across that before, and it was on Amazon Prime, so I figured I'd give that a shot. And then last night, I decided that I wanted to watch Pet Sematary for the first time. And I watched it in a pitch black room in the middle of the night. And let's just say I did not sleep well. Because that is one of the most terrifying movies I think I have ever seen.
Greg messaged me. He's like, I now see what you're saying about this Zelda character.
Oh my God.
Imagine being 6.
Yeah, exactly. I don't usually close my eyes during scenes, but the first time I saw her, I was like, nope, I see where this is going. And absolutely not happening. So it was a great film, though. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I
Very
love Pet Sematary.
terrifying movie.
I'm really looking forward to the remake.
Yeah,
though,
me too.
Because great cast. It just looks like he could be really good.
Do you think that they're going to be able to bottle lightning twice?
I don't know about that.
It's got a great cast, though, like Patrick said.
Yeah.
It's fucking full of good actors.
You know, and the thing is, it's reintroducing it to a new audience. It's one of those situations where you just don't know, because I'm not a big fan of remaking old movies.
Right.
But still, this may be one that, reintroduces it. So.
Have you seen the stills that came out over the weekend?
Yeah.
There's some really great stills
Are
that
there?
came over the weekend, too. Yeah.
I have to check them out.
So
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So that is what we have been watching. We are going to jump now into Josh's favorite segment. Patrick, what are we jumping into? It's the news.
the theme song gets shorter every week, which I'm enjoying that.
I'll remedy that. All right. Who's got some news that they would like to share?
I don't have anything fantastic, but I did see a little blurb about the new Hellboy movie. That would be number 3,
Ooh.
that they're leaning, it's going to lean more towards being a horror movie. They're going to make it really dark and just kind of lean more into that genre instead of having it kind of be more of the, I don't even know what you'd call the other
Comic
two.
booky?
Yeah, the
Comic
more
book,
comic booky things, which I'm kind of excited for because that was kind of one of my complaints about the Hellboy movies is they are really
Cheesy.
They're super cheesy, and I mean they're entertaining as hell, but I don't know. I'm lactose intolerant to that kind of cheese and all of it, but
I like the new look of Hellboy. I love the original Hellboy movies. I thought Ron Perlman was a fantastic casting option. I told you I'm getting drunk. Was a fantastic casting option for Hellboy. I thought he played that perfectly. But seeing what they're doing with the new one, he looks rough and raw, and I think that's going to help push that into the right direction. So
yeah, I think it'd be fun.
excellent.
Cool. Yeah. I brought a couple because I thought everybody would just dive onto this. And maybe it's not really news. It's kind of sad news. So Scott Wilson of The Walking Dead, he played Herschel. He died over the weekend.
Oh, no, I did not know
Oh,
that.
you didn't know that? Yeah. So he was 76.
He was also in Behind the Mask.
Yeah, Rise of Leslie Vernon. He's done a bunch of TV and television, but he was most known as Herschel from The Walking Dead. He was always like the friendliest person at like a convention. I saw him at a couple conventions, he was always willing to like shake your hand and take pictures and just talk to you about. Like, he was never really annoyed when you asked him Walking Dead questions. So yeah, he was a super cool guy, and like I said, he passed away over the weekend. So that was the first part of my news. Like I said, I thought it was all over the place yesterday, so I thought everybody would jump on that. The second thing I had is a really quick thing I just read today, and they are already beginning to work on the next Halloween movie, and the one coming out hasn't even released yet. And they're just expecting it to be so big.
Like bonkers awesome.
That they're already like jumping on to the next one because they want to release a new one October of 2019.
Sure.
So that was the
about a week ago, Danny McBride had come out in an interview saying that he already has all these ideas, and he's already been talking to the showrunner or the producers of this Halloween and Jason Blum about the possibility of. So it is interesting that they said that they're already started working on it. Then.
Yeah, and new writers coming on it. David Gordon Green's not going to do it, but yeah, Jason Blum, and I'll be curious to see if John Carpenter jumps in as well and kind of helps them keep going on that as well.
Sure.
So,
You know, if they have all these new ideas, it's like make a new movie. Like, as I said, I'm not a huge fan of the Halloween franchise. Like, nothing against it. It's just it's not bloody enough. I don't know. But like, if you have a bunch of new ideas, go make other movies. Like, how many Halloween movies are there now? Like 30?
Well, if you ignore everything after the first Halloween, there's one, almost two.
Because that's what they're asking you to do with this upcoming sequel is ignore everything except for the first one.
So they're trying to reintroduce it to people.
Yeah, the one that they're making now that's coming out on the 19th ignores everything after the first Halloween.
So basically, this is Halloween 2.
It's 40 years later.
40 years later.
Yeah. But those still happened. That's kind of like being like, no, let's just pull that curtain.
Yeah, but exactly to your point, you're saying, they've got all these great ideas for a Halloween movie. Why can't you just put a different character in there.
Yeah, like I would have no problem with like slasher movies coming back with
Right.
like new characters and
Right,
stuff. That would be
right.
awesome. Like I would be happy with that, but I'm kind of like, leave them alone.
I think that Hollywood is just they're too scared to do anything new anymore. They want to reinvent the new franchises because they know they've got a cult following and they know that they can make money off of that. The cat is
The cat's getting really intimate with my purse.
All right.
what you got in that purse there?
Say he's
None of your business.
he's fixed.
She's smuggling catnip.
In its defense, though, in its defense, though.
in the cat's defense?
No, not in the cat's defense at all. I mean, I was going to, never mind. I'm not going to say that. I'll let it go. And going back to the topic, in its defense, there's nothing new coming out of Hollywood. There's tons of coming out of the indie scene.
Right.
Yeah.
And they got plenty of new and great ideas. Hollywood's just not knocking and tapping on their doors, and they should be knocking that shit down for new content.
Absolutely, they need to be.
At this point, I'd almost rather the indie houses handle this genre.
Jason
Yeah.
Blum is the best one out there right now doing. I know he's doing Halloween, but he's also kicked out plenty
Right.
of original content.
And what's that one news studio? 45? No, that's
A24?
A24 is
That's
doing
it.
a lot too. Yeah,
You know, they're doing a lot of stuff, and I would rather see it in their hands because one, they don't get as much money to produce these things, so they have to be really creative about how they handle it. And two, they don't have Hollywood saying or dictating what they have to do
Yeah.
and then totally screwing the films up.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, speaking of Studio A24, I pulled up some interesting news. Netflix just landed a film that actually should have ended up with A24. I don't know what that has to do with it. It's just the first part of the article. Richard Shepard's Miramax horror thriller drama hybrid, The Perfection, has been acquired by Netflix for all global rights. Has anybody heard about The Perfection?
Yes, it is on my list.
Really?
No.
I hate you so much right now. This film stars Get Out, Allison Williams, and Logan Browning as they are two cello prodigies who reunite in Shanghai, and it concludes within a way that has reportedly left audiences speechless. Does this intrigue anybody?
I mean, I don't without seeing like some content from it. Or,
It's a little bit difficult.
Listen, it's A24 though, so I mean, they
No,
kick out.
it is not. It's Netflix.
It was taken.
It should have gone to
I
A24,
got
but
you.
Netflix
Okay.
picked it up. So
Okay.
it's Netflix acquires hottest film you haven't heard of yet, The Perfection. So
Netflix is picking up everything.
Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah.
Is,
might as well let them do what they need to do. So thank you, Bloody Disgusting, for that interesting piece of work. So that is the news.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
Patrick hasn't gone yet.
Shit. Wow. My bad. Go.
All right. So James Wan steps aside as the director for The Conjuring 3 and has been replaced with Michael Chavez at the helm. And Michael Chavez is the person who directed the film Maddie was talking about earlier, The Maiden, which was really good. So I'd never heard of him before watching that. So I was kind of surprised that they would ask a newcomer to come in and do it. But I guess he already has a relationship with New Line Studios. In fact, he's got a movie, I believe, releasing in April of this upcoming year. And it's called The Curse of La Llorona.
La Llorona, yeah.
Okay.
I know that.
My Sharona.
Close.
That was my first thought. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens with with somebody else stepping in. Because I mean, Juan hadn't directed all of the Conjuring
No,
movies.
he is not.
But he's produced them, and I was trying to find out if he's actually holding on as producer or anything else like that, which I wouldn't be surprised if he does. But it'll be interesting to see what this is, or what the new film is like with this new director.
My hope is he stays in, at least as a producer, and like kind of oversees at least the production, because The Conjuring is something that somebody can come in there and they can fuck it up. And I'd at least need someone to like, I don't want to say babysit him, but at least watch him close enough to be like, if you start to fuck this up, I'm going to step on your toes and I'm going to fix it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, being a producer on a movie or executive producer on a movie is very similar to being like an artistic director at a theater. And it's not necessarily that they direct every show that's there, but they make sure that the artistic integrity holds throughout the entire season. And that's what I see with, I hope he holds on with this, that he ensures that the artistic integrity of the Conjuring series remains the same.
Have they released the story they're going to do for The Conjuring, the case?
I haven't
I'm curious
read
to see
anything about it.
case they're going to take on.
I
The
think
Conjuring.
just based on The Maiden, and as I said, I haven't seen every single Conjuring movie, but I think just based on The Maiden, I think he can really at least bring the atmosphere to it.
Yeah, because if you haven't had the chance to see The Maiden, guys, here, or anybody listening, check it out. It's on YouTube. It's on Vimeo.
Yeah.
That he really tells an entire story within that 7 minutes. And it's got intrigue. It's got scares. He even managed to like develop characters in like 7 minutes. He did a really, really good job.
Yeah. The Maiden original content, is it his original content?
I think so. Yeah.
Because there's a difference between directing your own original content and having that vision in your head and then taking up somebody else's words and vision and trying to put out your own.
But even the way that he handled the cinematography and everything else, though, I think it was really, really smart and well put together.
Yeah, cool. I actually would probably see this one.
Cool.
Are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sorry for the pause, but I had to swallow my sangria.
Sangria. That is the news. Let's jump over to our topic. We had a topic presented to us. I believe it was by Patrick. Unless it was by somebody else, in which I apologize.
I believe it was by Maddie.
No, it
was me.
Oh.
Was it you? I apologize, Josh.
He got thrown out by every single person here, except for the person that said that, John.
We had this like blame triangle going on.
It was you. No, it was you.
Your fault.
It was me. I'll accept that blame. I don't think it was
mine was last week.
But I like how nobody even suggests Josh.
No, it's all right. Josh has got no ideas. Let's see what.
Josh, we do love you.
It's all right.
Go ahead. What was your topic idea?
Oh no, you introduce it.
No, I want you to get full credit for it. This was Josh's topic idea. Please introduce it.
Okay. Well, there's nothing really to introduce. What we're going to talk about is favorite subgenres of horror. That's it.
Okay.
It's pretty easy and simple. Nothing too like.
No, wait. Was it the favorite subgenre of horror or the favorite movie for the subgenres of horror?
What's the fucking difference?
Well, because like my favorite subgenre would be horror comedy, and that's all I would talk about. I just said
the favorite movie in a horror subgenre. Isn't that the same thing?
I think we included Josh in our blame triangle. We are now the blame square. Blame circle.
Who wants
Somebody
to
kick us off. We were presented with a list of subgenre topics.
Maddie's got this crash and burn look on her face. Like she's like, how do I squirm out of here?
Out of this one.
We were presented with a list of horror subgenre topics, and we were to come up with our favorite movies within those subgenre topics. I feel like I'm being very articulate.
I am never bringing alcohol to this.
Please do, because I feel like this is a lot more fun. So, on our first subgenre topic, we were presented with gore.
I will give the credit to Maddie as far as what subgenres we threw out, though. I think Maddie threw the subgenres out.
No, that was Greg. He did the...
No, he didn't.
That was Patrick?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
That freaking message thing is really hard to read.
Well, because I threw out the infographic that had like a butt ton listed on there. From there, Maddie suggested some, and then I just reinforced it by saying, hey, guys, this is what we're talking about.
So this is a group blame, right? This is kind of everybody's
the blame
fault.
game.
No, cool. It's a shitstorm is what
awesome.
it is.
Cool. We have, anyway, who wants to start?
Have we hit dumpster fire yet?
No, I think we're right above dumpster fire.
Right.
Someone
Let's keep going and see if we can hold above that level. So,
so
gore.
our first topic was gore.
Gore was our first subject. So somebody jump in with their favorite gore
I wrote
movie.
down more than one. Did anybody else do that?
I did on a few
couple,
of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so when it came up to gore, I only wrote down movies that obviously I've seen and had a good amount of a gore factor to it. And then are movies that are go-tos for me. So I wrote down Eli Roth's Hostel franchise and along with his film The Green Inferno. Mm-hmm. Both those they got enough gore to make me happy. And I am a fan of both those movies. So
okay.
That's what I threw out. Next.
You guys know me. You know I'm not a big particular fan of the gore subgenre. However, I wrote down Saw, which isn't necessarily my favorite. I think the one that affected me the most was 7. If you guys have ever seen that movie, It's been a long time ago. It's probably before you.
I've seen 7.
Yeah.
Would that be a gore one?
I think it's more thriller.
It was more thriller, but there was
horror.
gore in it that bothered me. It felt like I needed to take a shower after I saw the movie. That's why I put it there. But you guys be surprised by what I put as my top one, which is Terrifier.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting.
Oh, that's a fun one.
I think that's why, is because it was one that I kind of rethought about and watched more than once and ended up enjoying.
Interesting thought.
Yeah.
What did you have? This is kind of where you live.
I know. This one, it took me a while because gore is definitely my favorite. I kind of had a tie between the original Saw, and Martyrs, which Josh talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. There were so many that just kept popping into my head. Like, oh, what about this one? Like, Frontiers is amazing. I don't know. August Underground still kind of holds a little place in my heart, but Saw
Have you got
Martyrs.
through that one yet?
I haven't even pulled the trigger on it yet. I'm still it's sitting on my my dresser at my house, and I stare at it every night before I go to bed and go, nope, not tonight.
It's one you have to be in the mood for.
Yeah.
Or you have to be drunk as balls. Either one.
Josh, sangria, go.
Yeah, that one won't happen.
Or just up with your kids on Saturday morning?
Yeah, that
Oh,
might
there
be
you
a
go.
Saturday morning cartoon I'd show my
Saturday
kids.
morning gore tunes.
Yeah.
So I had a tough time with this one just because, like you said, there's so many that you go through and you're like, oh, I remember that. And that was really good. And I like that one too. And I like that one. I came up, Saw was on my list for one of them. And I came across Dawn of the Dead when I was looking this up. And I don't know that I classify that as a gore, but what would you throw a zombie movie under?
I'd say monster.
Monster more?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think a monster movie.
I'll take that one off then. I do love Dawn of the Dead, but
Yeah.
not as a gore. So we'll go full-fledged with Saw, and honorable mention, we'll say Terrifier. Terrifier. Yes.
Cool.
Terrifier. Next on our list was Psychological.
This is the one that was the easiest for me. It took me no time to write down the two movies that I wrote down. My favorite movie, or not my favorite movie, but a movie that lands in my top 5 all the time, is The Strangers. I love that movie. I'm a huge fan. So I wrote down The Strangers, and I kind of honorable mentioned Hush.
Okay.
I that's a go-to for me as well on Netflix. So yeah, both those movies I wrote down.
I want to kind of sidestep off of that with you because while I was looking this up, I did see The Strangers underneath Psychological. However, I don't know that I can classify it as psychological.
It can go under psychological. It can also land under Killers as well.
Which is where it landed
So,
for me, under Killers. So, okay,
So-
that's fair.
Yeah, that's mine.
For psychological, I would totally include Hush in that list. That's such a great movie. But I wrote down, and some people may argue this is not necessarily horror, but The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Yep. I give that one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it wasn't, it was, yeah. I'm not going to justify it.
You don't need to.
I stand
Yeah.
by it. The Sixth Sense
yeah.
for my psychological.
My psychological is Dread, which I mentioned last week, I believe. It was one of the, I looked it up, After Dark Film Festival movies, and I love this movie. This one was kind of hard for me because I love the psychological thriller genre, but I don't watch a lot of it.
Sure.
As I said, I like watching my brain rot, so.
Where can we find Dread, Maddie? Is there somewhere you can find that? You've mentioned it twice now, so I'm curious.
Oh gosh, I watched it a really long time ago,
Okay.
and I watched it when Hollywood Video was still around.
Oh shit, so it's been a minute.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Wait,
I've got
Family
it on my
Video.
list to locate.
Family Video. I feel like there is one streaming service that has all the After Darks on it, and I can't remember which
Okay,
one.
cool. I'll find it.
Excellent.
Okay.
So for my psychological, I had the movie Get Out,
That's a good choice, yeah.
and I also had the movie Frailty.
Oh, I love Frailty.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those underdogs that you forget about until it's somebody showing it to you. And you're like, oh, yeah, that was a good movie. So, yeah, Frailty. I really did enjoy that movie.
That was a podcast week.
It was a podcast week. I actually just listened to the podcast episode on the fear of God of Frailty. That was really cool. Really good episode. So check that
I
out
think
if you get a chance.
the horror version also covers that.
Do they? I'll have to check that one out too. Cool. Next is one of my personal favorites, the killer subgenre.
Yeah, so I wrote down like, your typical like Halloween and like Scream was a big like kind of reintroduction to the horror genre. But the movie that I would go to as far as killers go is I'm a huge fan of Christian Bale in American Psycho.
Okay.
I love that fucking movie. So my choice would be American Psycho for the killer subgenre.
Did you have anything else in there? Because I know you said you had multiples.
I wrote down Halloween and Scream.
Oh, I'm sorry. My fault.
They are like go-tos for a lot of people. But if I had to pick one on the list, it would be American Psycho.
Okay.
On my list, just because of breadth of work, I would say the Friday the 13th franchise.
I do like that franchise.
I mean, the guy is unkillable.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you have a lot, like in the entire series, you have a lot of different kind of movies. Like, you have the original one, which is like a true slasher, and then you have fucking Jason X, which I'm sorry is a comedy.
Yeah.
So you have that whole range you can just pick.
Yeah.
I'm even a fan of the remake of Friday the 13th. I even like that one. So I don't like all of them, but the remake did not bother me as much as it bothered a lot of people.
Sure.
So, yeah.
My killer movie, and I don't really know what genre to put this in, but I put it in killer, was Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh.
That is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I love cannibal movies, and I entirely blame Silence of the Lambs for that.
That could have probably lived in psychological too as well, right?
Yeah, I kind of
It
went
could go
back
either
and
way.
forth, but like in the infographic you shared, it said it listed crime under killer
Yeah, yeah.
movies,
Yeah,
and
I
I
can see
definitely
that
would
too.
say this was like a crime
crime,
movie.
yeah.
Serial killer type. Interesting. Okay. So I had originally mentioned under the killer genre, The Strangers was one of mine. Just one of my all-time favorite horror movies was The Strangers. I think it was set up perfectly. Also, Halloween was another one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool. Next, we had this cat is like
I don't know why he's being so freaking friendly.
bonkers
today.
crazy down here. Monster, the monster genre.
Yeah, I wrote down
Subgenre.
I wrote down weird ones for this one.
Do tell.
We did watch The Monster, which a while back, which is a really great movie. Actually, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. But the two I wrote down were Cabin in the Woods, because that's like, for me, the ultimate
That's like the ultimate monster
movie. Monster movie. It hits every single monster from every subgenre ever lands in that movie. But the OG monster movie for me, from when I was a kid, is a movie called Gremlins. And so that was my pick for monster movies. Yeah.
Excellent.
It took me a while to figure out what I wanted to list as the number one on this one, because, I'm a big fan of the Godzilla movies and stuff like that. But I think ultimately what I had to put down is Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an iconic monster.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's it.
Okay.
This one was definitely the hardest for me. Even though I watch a lot of monster movies, I don't know if I enjoy them that much. It's actually a tradition for us on Christmas to watch giant monster movies. I don't know why.
I want to hang out with you on Christmas.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, Sci-Fi does like a marathon of them, and we've been doing it. My family's been doing it for years. I don't know why that's acceptable, but it is. But the movie I kind of wrote down, and I hesitated to put this under the monster category, was the movie Underworld. I don't know. I have a really hard time putting like vampires under monster movies, and I know they belong under there, but like that movie just has a really interesting tone that I don't necessarily like shuffle in with the rest of monster movies, because when I hear monster movies, I kind of lean towards more like thinking the bit cheesy side of it. So, and this movie kind of had a serious, more gritty tone, so I was like, this doesn't fit, but it's going under there anyway.
No, I think that's a very
The
solid.
first one's good.
Yeah, the first one's good.
Once you get past that, it's
downhill from there.
Yeah, it's downhill real quick.
Kate Beckinsale has come out and officially said she will never do another one.
Yeah, she's done.
Yeah,
She's done.
I don't blame her.
Excellent. For me, it actually one of the movies that I watched for our 31 Days of Horror, The Wolfman, landed on my list because I just absolutely loved how you got to see his descent into the Wolfman character, and just the movie was fantastic. Speaking of Descent, that was my other one, was The Descent.
Oh, I love The Descent.
Loved the monster characters in there. It's when I was coming up with this list, I thought back to our topic last week of the life lessons learned. And Josh, the one that you had said where if it's in Mother Nature, you don't fuck with it. I think this is a perfect example of you go into a cave and you keep going and you don't fuck with those things.
Yeah.
So The Descent was my other one.
Fun fact, The Descent is the only movie that's ever freaked me out.
Really?
Interesting.
And it's
Impressive.
because I am incredibly claustrophobic.
Yep.
That would
You
do
need to
it.
see the Ryan Reynolds movie. Gosh, I wish you remember the name of it. But the entire movie
Is it
takes
Buried?
Oh, Buried, yeah.
Yes, that is definitely on my list to watch.
That
It's
will
great
will
movie.
bother
Yeah.
the hell out of you if you were claustrophobic.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's an awesome movie.
Next, we have Paranormal.
Yeah, again, things like Paranormal Activity pop up on your list and stuff like that. But for me, it was anything from Japanese lore is the shit that scares me. As far as the paranormal goes, the Ringus and the Juons and the Shutters and stuff like that are just, they know how to fucking make a movie that will scare the crap out of you. So yeah, I wrote just a whole overall
Japanese horror.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, top of my list was actually Ringu, so I completely agree with you on that they just handle that subgenre so well. However, I did write down as a close second The Last Shift.
The Last Shift is great, yeah. My paranormal pick is actually my number one favorite movie. It's The Devil's Backbone.
Okay. Guillermo del Toro. Nice. Excellent. Just matching Patrick's Last Shift was on my list. Just phenomenal on there. The Shining was my other one that I had.
Yeah.
As paranormal. And I really wanted to put Paranormal Activity on here. I really did, but I got scared in that movie for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was based on a true story. Just the way that it was shot, the found footage part of it and all that.
Yeah.
And when I found out that they were making a sequel with all the same characters, it was just kind of like, well, fucking A, I'm an idiot.
The Devil's Backbone is actually the only Del Toro movie I've never seen. So
Fair enough. Last one, and one of my favorites, was the horror comedy subgenre.
I feel like I'm going to steal everybody's. Does somebody else want to go first? Because it's fine if you want to go first.
No, go right ahead.
I mean, I wrote down 3, but I'm just going to go with Shaun of the Dead.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, so I mean, I love Shaun of the Dead. I'm sure the other 2 I wrote down will end up somewhere also coming from somebody. So, but mine was Shaun of the Dead.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's why I said ding, 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 ding.
That was yours?
Mine, yep.
Mine was Trick or Treat.
I forgot about that.
I was gonna say, I don't know if that's a horror comedy, but
Yeah.
I think it's funny. That's,
I would agree.
yeah, that's actually when I have people say, I don't really like horror movies, but I want to watch something for Halloween. I normally, if I'm in a good mood, I steer them towards Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's not a horrific movie by any means.
I just picked that movie up. So,
It's so fun.
That's a great movie.
it's fun.
Under mine, I had one of my all-time favorite horror comedy movies. Actually, I watched it for part of our 31 marathon. Was Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say that
Love
one.
that movie. And then my number 2 on there was Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
That's great. Like Cooties could have landed on there. Zombieland could have landed on there. There's a handful of good horror comedy.
I'm surprised you didn't say Zombieland.
It's on my list.
Is
but
it?
I mean, if someone's like, you got to watch one horror comedy for the rest of your life or whatever,
Shaun of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead, I think is what I'd go to.
Tucker and Dale for me.
Has anyone seen Meet the Blacks? It's on Netflix. It's like a horror comedy. I think we just like randomly picked it one day, and it's kind of making fun of The Strangers. It's kind of along the like scary movie. I'd say like that level.
Like parody almost.
Yeah,
Sure.
it is more of a parody, but oh my gosh, it is so freaking funny.
I'll have to check that one out. Excellent. So that is our topic. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, obviously, we've excluded some subgenres
yeah.
in this list, and some people may ask, well, why did you cover that or anything? But I mean, like, obviously, like, found footage is a subgenre. Zombies should be a subgenre on its own as opposed to being involved with monsters or whatever, just because of the sheer amount of content that there is out there.
I still don't think that found footage is a subgenre, because I feel like it's more of a style of filming, because you have found footage movies of all the different genres. I don't know. To me, it's still not
would you consider it a subgenre almost?
I think it's just a style of filming as opposed
There's
to...
so many out there now, though, that it's kind of created. It's kind of snaked its way into a subgenre.
Yeah. Well, is it... I kind of think it's more trying to keep up with like what's going on. Like everybody films everything nowadays. Like, so I don't know. I kind of feel like there's so many of them because that's just kind of a thing now. It's just you whip your camera out and film literally everything. I don't know. It could be considered a subgenre. I don't think so.
Definitely not an interesting subgenre. I mean, I don't think it would. It's not, something that people talk about a lot, I don't think.
So I have an interesting question here, because one of the films that I watched for our 31 Days of Horror was the Chernobyl Diaries.
Yeah.
Before we jump into the question that I have on that, when you watch a found footage film, do you consider it found footage because they basically break the fourth wall and involve the cameraman?
I consider found footage anything in first person, and I could be wrong there, but like, because I mean, you can even consider August Underground found footage because it people are filming like that.
Sure.
Oh shit. People are filming like that. I don't know. That's kind of what I consider a found footage movie, is like if it looks like someone found it in their basement. If the cameraman is
part of the part of the scenery,
group.
Part of the group.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a shaky cam and it makes you want to vomit, it's found footage.
That's fair.
So.
That's fair.
But then you also fall into like those areas where it's security cameras, different things like that. You know, you look at 13 cameras, 14 cameras. You know, how much of that footage is from the hidden cameras that you put into place, different things like that. So, for me personally, it's when it involves the person running the camera is involved with the story as well.
So the reason I asked that, and I don't know if any of you have seen the Chernobyl Diaries at all.
I have.
You have? Okay.
A long time ago, yeah.
A long time ago.
When I watched it, I was anticipating it being a found footage film, but I don't know that I have trouble considering it full on found footage, because the cameraman, while is documenting their tour, vacation, whatever they're doing, is never once involved in what's going on in the scene. He's simply there just to document. He's not part of the fear or the terror that's going on. He's literally just there filming. And I had trouble classifying that as a full-on found footage because of that fact. So I don't know if those of you who had seen it would kind of follow along that same suit, or if you'd have another.
And one can argue,
because
we had talked about this before, Frankenstein's Army was found footage, but was it really? Because of the style that it was filmed in. It didn't look like found footage, but it really was found footage with the way that.
True.
So that's where your argument that it's a style comes into play in that case. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think though, because there are so many found footage movies, I think people are going to be doing more stuff to kind of still keep in that style, but have it come into different like forms of it, like having, you know, security camera footage is part of the movie, and having like most of the movie shot through. Wasn't there a movie where like it was all webcam? Like, I swear there was
Unfriended was all webcam.
And like stuff like that. And I think especially as technology evolves more and more, I think we'll get different styles of that. I don't know. To me, found footage is exactly what it sounds like. Is like, maybe I found this in the freaking attic and was like, oh, what is this?
Yeah.
And I think they originally kind of came around also is because they cost no money. It's $0 to make a found footage movie anymore. So
that is true. It was one of the things that was going through my mind, because I fully watched Chernobyl Diaries in anticipation that I would probably hate it because it was found footage. But I thought that they did a really, really nice job with it, not involving the cameraman at all. Like, you never felt that terror of the cameraman was going to die at any point, or somebody was in somebody's face or anything like that. And I really kind of appreciated that aspect of that film. So it was just an interesting question that it came up.
Cool.
So, all right, that was our topic. We are going to swing over to the last and the best part of our podcast. It is our movie review. Patrick, do you have the tales?
House on Willow Street, 2016, now streaming on Netflix. Runs an hour, 26 minutes. After a young woman is kidnapped, her captors soon come to realize that, in fact, they may be the ones in danger, and this young woman has a dark secret inside her. IMDb rating 5.1. Metascore to be determined. Rotten Tomatoes critics 67%. Rotten Tomatoes audience score 64%. So it's scored above average.
I suppose that's good.
I don't know. Was it above average for you?
Yes.
Not ever once. So I watched House on Willow Street last year as part of my 31 Days of Horror challenge and wrote a review on it. I really dug the movie a lot. I thought the atmosphere was great. I think the story was overall super original. But the look of it, the acting was good. There's a lot of really good moments in there. But I dug House on Willow Street. I was glad I had watched it the first time, and not as effective the second time, but it's still a good watch, I think.
No, I spent the first half of this movie thinking, it was deja vu all the way through. So I must have seen this before. And it may have been after you had watched it last year that maybe I picked it up under recommendation or something like that. Because it just seemed really, maybe the story was familiar or something like that from something else, but it just felt really familiar all the way through. Yeah. I couldn't tell you that there was one thing that jumped out to me that said, I've seen this before. but it did seem really familiar to me.
Did it feel like it was having a hard time picking what kind of genre it wanted to live in?
Yeah,
A little bit. It was kind of a little bit all over the place.
Because it was kind of like cult. It was kind of like paranormal. It was kind of like slasher gore.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a little all over the place.
I actually didn't like this movie.
No?
It's funny that you said the acting was good because I remember I didn't bring my notebook, but the first thing I wrote down was, is this really shitty acting or bad dialogue?
Oh, okay. Well,
I would say bad dialogue.
Bad dialogue.
Okay, was that it? Because I was just kind of like, what? Like, and I couldn't decide because there was like, I was like, is everybody universally bad, or did you guys just like, what did you do?
No, I believe that the writing was bad.
Okay.
Because there were times where people handled the acting so extremely well, and then
They open their mouth.
and then they kind of because there was that one interaction between what was the hate the blonde haired can't think of her name now. Hazel was the one woman. Was interacting with the person that they had captured, and they were just talking, and then his tears were just coming down her face. And yes, some people can do that on command, but it really fit the scene. And to me, that says they were able to connect there somehow. So these are good actors.
Okay.
But I think it was just appalling writing at times.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell. I was just like, is it what? But as I said, everybody couldn't be bad, so I was kind of like, okay, maybe bad writing and just.
And I wouldn't say necessarily appalling writing as clumsy writing more than anything.
Yeah, like it was almost like I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was almost comic booky. It was just kind of really clunky and kind of just like, and not how they were saying it, but it was what they were saying was just kind of over dramatic to me. I was like,
There was one scene in there where they were talking about, I think it was just before the two had gone back to the house, where they were talking about what all was going on. And I remember the guy saying something about the house on Willow Street. And I fully anticipated him to like turn and look at the camera like, yeah, I just said the title of the film, bitch.
Well, and something that bothered me about the title and some other things is because it's called The House on Willow Street, but was it really that much about the house on Willow Street?
Yeah, they didn't even stay there.
You know, the only thing was that, you know, the carvings from the cult or the witchcraft or whatever it was in the house.
The connection.
Yeah.
That was the connection, but it wasn't really about that. You know, like Amityville Horror was a haunted house.
Yeah.
This was not a haunted house.
And that was one of the notes that I had written down. It was, so is the house a character? If so, shouldn't it get more love? You know, they spent the entire time in this warehouse talking about how terrible this house was. Good God, Josh, stop coughing.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, you get one more.
If you're going to talk about the house or you're going to name the film after the house, be in the fucking house.
Yeah.
And it also tapped on, again, our topic from last week. Don't fuck with things that, like, don't be in places that you're not supposed to be. Because they scouted that house and they knew they had alarms all over the place and all this stuff. And then they got to the house and the door was already open.
Yeah.
And the alarm was already off.
Red flag.
That's a red flag. Like, don't do that. That's stupid. Are you fucking kidding me? Don't do it. So
This movie, you said kind of like a deja vu thing, and I know I haven't seen this movie before, but I was trying to think of movies it reminded me of, and to me, like, the tone or something about it kind of reminded me of The Collector and Don't Breathe. If, like, they had a baby, like, I think this movie would probably be the demon offspring.
The redheaded stepchild.
This would be the redheaded stepchild. Sorry.
that's all right.
Yeah, I can't put my finger on why I didn't like this movie. This is the clunky dialogue. I think the one thing that I was like, what the actual F? Like, when the priest or whoever he was like, oh, we gotta light your daughter on fire. And they were just like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh, what? Like, who are these people?
No, that's one thing I wrote down is that when it got into the third act, it got really, really clumsy because that whole ritual with the exorcism made no sense whatsoever.
It didn't. And I was just kind of like, where did you find these guys? Craigslist?
I mean, he had a point when he said that we can't save her anymore. So let's just kill the demon. But it wasn't explained really that well. So he just starts dumping kerosene or gasoline on her and everything else. And even though there were some effects in that little scene that I liked a lot, but the scene itself, I just that's where I realized how clumsy the writing was as opposed to what the acting was.
I think I didn't look into this at all. This seems to me like a first movie, like the first movie this guy's ever done.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, to me, as you said, very clumsy, kind of the whole way. What was that girl's name? Like the dark-haired girl.
I couldn't remember.
Christina, I think.
Her face bugged me. I was like, God damn, bitch.
What, because she was messed up so bad, or
no? She just had a weird face. Oh, okay. Sorry,
weird
I know we should.
Weird shaped, or
just I don't know. Just there was something about her face that I was like, God, I just want to punch it. It's a woman thing. Sorry.
I felt there was actually some really good moments of design and cinematography in this movie that I thought some of the shots were set up really, really well. But I also felt at one point that it was filmed shortly after these filmmakers discovered Adobe After Effects for like all the fire, the fake fire, the embers all over the place. How many times can you lift a person up in the air? There were just a lot of things that felt like it was like, hey, I discovered a new plugin in After Effects. Let's do it.
the tentacle porn tongues.
Yeah, what the hell?
Things like that. Some of them were handled extremely effectively. Some of them not so much. And you can kind of see the differences in there. And I realized that, yeah, there's going to be movies like that because people are learning. Everything can't be handed off to Lucasfilm or Wetaworks or anything like that. But yeah, that's where I saw that some of it was really, really done well. And then some of it was, let's throw this into After Effects and see what happens.
Technically, I thought this movie was one of the better ones that we've watched in a while. Like you said, the cinematography was absolutely stunning. I loved all the work that they did while they were in the warehouse. The really harsh yellow lights of the overhead lighting in that. There was a lot of haze. I don't know if you caught on that. There was a lot of haze in there, which I thought was a nice little touch because you never really saw it until they had the flashlights on. And I thought that was a really cool touch there. The use of the lighting that they did in that, all the flickering lights and everything like that, I thought was a great touch. One thing that I really appreciated was the makeup that they did in these. Some of those creatures,
the creature creation was really
well
good.
done, really well done. So I really appreciated that. The special effects, I think, was the one thing that got me. Like I said, the tentacle porn tongues, especially when it got to the end where it's just the two guys and they're basically like tongue fucking each other standing there. I don't know. It was weird. Just, it didn't do much for me there. There's a couple things about the film that really bugged me. Right at the very beginning, where they were going to kidnap the girl, the guy who whips out his cross and starts praying. You're going to kidnap somebody. What the hell are you praying for? That just, that bugs me. No, this not happening. When, what was her name? Hazel?
Hazel was, yeah.
Towards the end, when the three possessed were staring down the blonde dude as he fired, and she's sitting there behind the grate. All of a sudden he dies, and they just stand there and wait for her to get away. Like, grates are the only thing that can protect from evil magic.
After she's already like deflected buckshot and returned 6 rounds of fire from a pistol.
Exactly. You can't like stop her from crawling through a giant vent.
You can't rip that gate right off.
That one, I had issues with that.
And also, why didn't she run? Like, someone said that in last week's where shit you learn from a horror movie. Like, when you have the chance, get out. Get out.
Exactly.
Don't
yeah.
look
And
back.
she's sitting here watching him get like impaled by 6 bullets that he just shot.
Yeah.
Why do you want to see that? You know, you've got an opportunity to get the fuck out. And no, I'm going to sit here and watch my boyfriend die or kill himself, I guess, in this instance. The ending was strangely unsatisfying for me.
It was very anticlimactic.
It really was. I found myself at one point rooting for the possessed girl. I think, what did we say? Christina was her name?
Sure.
Whatever her name was. We'll say Christina. I found myself rooting for her because here are these criminals that kidnapped her. You kind of get what's coming to you. You kidnap a possessed girl? Good luck with that.
Yeah, have a good time.
And now all of a sudden she's fighting back to save herself or whatever is going on there, and what's-her-face gets away. Hazel gets away. Are you fucking kidding me? That's just... And
in the ending, it also took me a moment to realize that it was Hazel's mother who came to save her.
Oh, you didn't catch that?
No, I didn't. For some reason, I'm still going, who is this woman? Where the hell did she come from? Why is she on fire? What the fuck's going on here?
The big thing that I caught in there was these people are being haunted by the ghosts of their past.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the one guy, it was his cousin. The other guy, it was his daughter. Another one, it was his mother.
It was the cousin, because the two guys were already cousins.
The cousin was the big guy.
Yeah, the big
was the big fat
They were
guy.
all three related then. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I didn't catch that part. Okay.
Yeah, so it was exactly what you're saying, and it was all people that they were related to.
Right. I figured he was just he was an accessory in the whole group of whatever misdeeds they were doing.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of like what we were talking about with the collectors. You kind of have, like, I guess the anti-hero. Like, do you really want to be rooting for these people? They just, like, broke in and kidnapped someone.
right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't feel 100%
they didn't give a
bad.
reason for why they did it. If there was some sort of backstory for why they needed the money, why they needed the diamonds,
Right.
something like that. If it was a revenge thing, something, I could have cared about these characters. I didn't care about these characters.
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
You know, so I at that point, I just jumped in and said, I'm just going to enjoy it for the effects and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one thing I did write down. Again, I didn't bring my notebook, but just there was no backstory to literally anything. Like, even like when they bring up like the demon that this girl is supposed to be possessed with, it was just kind of like, oh, this is this dude's name. I was like, who the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah, it was
and-
about 1 minute explanation of how this even happened.
Right.
Yeah, and that it kind of bugged me on a personal level because I love like mythology stuff and I love when movies kind
Absolutely.
of like put that in there, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, here's this tentacle demon. It's got your daughter. We gotta light her on fire now. And I was like, what? No, I don't know. But then again, in The Collector, we kind of bitched that the guy had a backstory. So there is a balance. You can either have way too much or just a little tiny bit. But that little bit.
But
really-
even still in The Collector, like I felt like there was a lot better told story within that, even if it was just a little bit more of a backstory or even whatever it was. I felt a lot more rooting for the guy breaking in
Yeah.
than I did for these kidnapper people.
Yeah. Yeah, the only time that I felt for Hazel was when she was able to tell this person, look, you're going to be fine. This
Yeah.
is all for show. Let me show you my gun, which has no bullets in it. I'm not going to harm you. I'm the good guy here.
Yeah, that really humanized the character, and that
Right.
was a moment in the movie that I did really like.
But
is
that was about
they-
the only time it humanized any of those characters.
Yeah. I do kind of want to make a note. Oh, you said the makeup was good. The special effects makeup was really good. Something that did kind of bug me, though, is like the normal makeup was not very good. And it might not have been the makeup itself, but I think it was the lighting, because that you couldn't really tell in the male characters, but that Hazel woman looked like she was aged like 20 years.
I want to say
More.
that was because of the lighting, because
I
it was
think
such
it was
a
the-
harsh
it
yellow
was a
that
really
it really
harsh-
just kind of drained the color out of her face.
It did, but I kind of think, as I said, I'm a makeup artist, so this just
Sure.
kind of bugged me. But I was kind of like, then don't put makeup on her. Like, do some screen tests under that lighting, because as I said, it aged her to like, because I'm sure that woman's not much older than I am, and it looked like she was like hitting 50.
Was that why her boyfriend looked like he used about 60 bottles of Sun-In?
Probably.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that hair did not look natural.
No,
in any way,
that
shape,
was
or
like
form.
bleach
That was
white.
That was another thing with the characters. I felt like they over stylized them. Like
I
they
could
kind
see
of
that.
made, they
I
kind of
could
made
totally
them
see
look
that.
like Grand Theft Auto loading screens. Like, if we're
It's like a
kinda
character.
honest.
It's like an over characterization of what that character like
Right.
a caricature.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Of it.
Yeah, like I was like, yeah, if I was gonna think of like 4 kidnappers, this is exactly what they would look like,
like
but
it-
like not in a good way.
It's like here's this stereotype. Here's this
It
stereotype.
was.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was really, as you said, more of a character than an actual character. And while I don't think it really did anything to the actual characters themselves, it just kind of looked off, silly. As I said, Grand Theft Auto loading screen.
I like that. That's probably the best way to state that. Was anybody like irritated by the amount of jump scares in here?
I put down over reliance on cheap shrieking jump scares dragged it down.
Yeah.
I actually like that kind of jump scare where it's just I almost think of it as like subliminal, where it's just a really quick flash of something instead of like something popping out. But I only think you can have like 1 or 2 of those in a movie. Like you
Right.
can't have just like
Right.
over and over, because that loses its effect. But
Well,
like
and
1 or 2.
they use the same one kind of over and over, where it's all of a sudden you see the person and they're chasing them for like 3 seconds and then they disappear. That type of thing. So I felt that was a little overused. I appreciated the fact that they didn't necessarily use the really, really cheap jump scares like a cat jumps out of somewhere or anything like that.
Yeah.
They all seem to enforce what the story was trying to go for.
The thing that bummed me out the most was they had set up that beginning scene where they were going through the house to kidnap the girl. They had set up the tension and the atmosphere in that really, really nicely. Like you were anticipating something to pop out at any point in that. I feel like you developed this great atmosphere and this great tension at the very beginning, and you just kicked the board out from under you, and you're using jump scares as, oh, we gotta make this scary because there's scary images on the screen. If you can maintain that tension and that atmosphere throughout this entire warehouse kidnapping, oh my God, she's possessed sequence, I feel like you would have had a lot better movie. You know, kind of going into the same world that Last Shift lived in. They basically are in the same thing. You have one location, you've set up a great atmosphere. There's not jump scares in there, but you set up that tension and you've maintained that tension. You've got a great movie.
I did enjoy the lights out jump scare.
That was awesome. I did catch that.
Fun.
Yeah, that was a good one.
So that was a nice little nod.
Absolutely it was.
Absolutely.
You had talked about the tension that they had built in the house, and something that bothered me when they did that, though, and I think it goes back to the clumsy writing, is when the guy opens the door to the parents' bedroom. And he doesn't really look in, he doesn't see, but somehow he knows that skeleton key is on the other side of the door, reaches around, grabs it, closes the door, and locks it. And so I'm going, well, one, who uses skeleton keys anymore? Two, how did he even know it was there?
Because they've scouted that house so closely.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought of it as. Because, I mean, and you can tell it is an older home. And, like, so that's kind of what I thought it was, is like, oh, maybe they've scouted it enough that they know this house was, like, built in whatever when they still did use skeleton keys and stuff. But I did kind of appreciate that they, like, did the, like, 6 weeks later thing instead of, like, shooting them planning this. Because I would have been like,
yeah, that would have killed the entire
That would have
thing.
just absolutely, like, some, like, 80s montage of them, like...
I also wanted to point out at the beginning when they're sitting there taking the pictures of the house and they're scouting it, they're sitting underneath a street light.
Yeah.
In the white rape van.
Gigantic white panel van. How red flag do you have to be to... No.
Right, I would have immediately called the police if I would have seen them. Like, I don't even know what these people are doing, but there's a rape van sitting across the street from me, and I know they're doing something.
If it was an 80s montage, I actually probably would have enjoyed that a little bit.
Gonna have a montage.
It's a nice little rocking 80s song.
Yeah,
throw a
like
little
Walking on Sunshine.
I love the 80s, so I'm just throwing that out there.
Josh, you've been quiet.
I mean, Walking on Sunshine would have been a good choice. I like that song. So I've been quiet because I've been enjoying the conversation between
the witty banter.
Like I said, I didn't have a ton to say about the movie. You guys have all pretty much hit.
Now, did you rewatch it, or are you relying on what you remembered from the last time?
No, I rewatched it kind of. I rewatched it today before I came over here, but I rewatched it between like doing 900 other things. Okay. So it was kind of like I'd go back and be like, oh, it's this moment right now. And then I'd watch it for a second, and then I'd kind of be like, all right, well, I kind of know what happens right here, so I'm going to go do some more shit, and then I'll come back to it in a couple of minutes.
Because I was going to ask if you felt like you enjoyed it as much this time as you did last time, but it's a different experience.
But not really. I mean, there's some movies that, like, if I've seen them, it loses a little bit of its, magic, I guess. I knew every spot from the movie, so there was nothing. It's just one of those movies that once you've kind of seen it, you've kind of seen it.
Yeah.
So that's how it was for me today.
I would never rewatch this movie, but because the one thing that really stood out to me is I liked how I thought they were going to go in and rob this house, and I was kind of like, oh Lord, not again. But like then they went in and kidnapped her, and I did think that was kind of like, oh, okay, that's interesting. This is something different than what I've seen and what I was thinking. But if I watched it again, I'd be like, oh yeah, they're going in to kidnap this chick.
Yeah, so there's a lot of really good spots in the movie. If you've never seen the movie, there's a lot of really nice spots in there for scares. And there's like even the moment where she's at they're going through the house the first time, and he's looking in that closet at the stuff on the wall, and she just kind of like appears behind him. Again, it's not scary, but I love shit. I like spots like that. I like shots that are in movies like that. It was a nice spot. So like I said, it wasn't anything I didn't know I knew that was coming. So if I could walk away into a room while a movie's playing and come back and know exactly what's going on, I've seen that movie enough. So
I do want to say it didn't, like, as I said, I was just saying I bitch a lot about movies dragging. I didn't think this movie drug that much. Like, there was a couple scenes that I was like, you could probably, like, shave a few minutes off of that and it would have had the same effect. But, like, as I said, I would have actually liked more story, more backstory and stuff in this movie. So it actually, I don't know if I wanted it to be longer, but I at one, when it got to the end, I was like, finish it, and I don't care how. But
See, that's interesting because, like, this movie was about 15 minutes longer than the one we watched last time, and you felt the last one drug on, and it was even shorter than this one.
Mm-hmm. And as I said, it's not even the length of the movie, because I think
it's the content.
It's the content, because there was one of the shorts that I watched was a minute long, and I thought it fucking drug. I was like, get going! What are you doing? You can, because there are movies that I love that are 3 hours long, but I don't think they drag. It's totally depending on the story and the content and what's going on.
It's Titanic.
No,
it's the Langoliers. Is that better or worse?
So that's what last week's movie was for me. It took forever to get nowhere.
Oh my God.
What did we watch last week?
Murder Party was not a good choice.
Yeah,
I got it.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
No, and that was just a strange connection. So,
and speaking of going on much longer than we probably should, we should probably wrap this movie up.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into ratings then.
So what we do is we rate on 3 different rating scales, and the first is scare factor, the gore factor, and then the overall rating. So scare factor. So let's go around the table.
1 or 2?
Okay.
2?
0.
2.
I give it a 3. There was a couple of good jumps in there, but I think they overused them.
Mm-hmm. I would probably agree with you on the 3. And then we've got the gore rating.
Same. Probably 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
0.
I give it a 3 or 4.
It's pretty low for me because they didn't really show a lot of blood and guts or anything.
I can't
in this.
even remember anything. I guess when they were showing all the dead bodies in the basement.
Yeah, it was more of the ghosts that were happening.
Even like when they were getting clubbed with things, like she was beating the crap out of her with that 3-foot wrench, but they didn't really show a lot of anything there. And then when they threw in the van, she didn't show any signs of damage.
No, with the 3-foot wrench, every time she hit her in the face, she coughed up blood.
Right.
Every time.
Yeah.
That's not how that happens.
That's not how that works. No.
Yeah.
It's not how that works.
Okay, so pretty low on the gore factor. Overall rating.
6, 7. 6, 7.
3. They tried.
I give it a 6, a solid 6. It was it kept my interest throughout the entire thing, which I appreciated, but I think there was a couple aspects that they could have adjusted and held better. So I give it a 6.
I think this movie is definitely worth a watch. I give it a 6 as well, so it's above average. And I think other than Maddie's rating, we kind of fell in line with what IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes said.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's jump into our final finalist segment of plugs. Who's got stuff they want to plug?
I'll make this quick. Everybody, help us out. Make sure that you head on over to iTunes or whatever service you're listening to this podcast on and review and rate us. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, and many, many more. You can check us out online. Find us on Twitter at mfrightcast. Follow us and join the conversation in our Facebook group at Midnight Frightcast. And you can also find us on Instagram. So share, and share some more. Post it on your walls and tell your friends. And also be sure to check out our films at midnightfrightfilms.com. You can find us on YouTube as well, Midnight Fright Films.
Yeah, so we are 1 week out from the Prairie Lights Film Festival. It's coming to Grand Island October 12th, 13th, and 14th at the Historic Grand Theater. Again, we've plugged it every day pretty much, or every week ever since like June or something like this. It's been a while. Mm-hmm. It's that time. We're 1 week away. This will be the last plug before the festival. So yeah, come on out. It's a fucking really good time. It's a super cheap weekend. I think it's 38 films over the 3 days for $10, along with the discounts you get kind of at some of the restaurants out there and vouchers for like popcorn and soda and stuff. So it's you're not going to find a cheaper weekend for what you get out there. Mm-hmm. And I know it's a bit of a drive and it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it's worth the drive. Like I said, especially if you're a filmmaker or aspiring filmmaker, I really push for those guys to come out because there's filmmakers out there that have done this. And if you don't really know where to start or kind of how to get going, those people are out there and they love to talk about their shit. So come pick an ear, come hang out. It's a really good time.
Pick an ear or pick a brain.
Pick
a
whatever.
nose.
Just don't
pick a nose.
Yeah. Or just pick your own nose. Just not somebody else's nose. It's weird.
Maddie, what do you got?
If you guys want to join us and do the 31-day challenge, I can highly recommend Screambox. Less than the price of your coffee the entire month of October. They have over 500 titles for you to choose from. You can get a free trial. Everything you need for your 31-day challenge is at screamboxtv.com.
Awesome. And my name is Greg the Movie Guy, and I am the best movie reviewer that you have never heard of. I write movie reviews with a positive spin over at gregthemovieguy.com. I've been a little quiet recently. That's because I am diving deep into horror movie madness for the month of October. I hope to get something up there here soon, but if I'm quiet in October, you at least know why. So jump on over, see what I've got posted on there. That is gregthemovieguy.com. And from all of us down here in the basement studios, Maddie, Josh, and Patrick, I thank you for joining us for another episode of Midnight Frightcast. It is episode 41. I got it right this time. Episode 41. We wish you all a pleasant evening, a scary tomorrow. We'll be at midnight, or we'll be at Prairie Lights next week. I'm looking forward to that.